Welcome. In some denominations, you'd make a trip to the pastor's study for answers to the really tough questions. Well, let's see what we can do here. May meet, blessed be. Depending on how you got here, I'm Aidan Odinson, High Priest of the Temple of Gaia, or, in the person of the same person, Bishop Cal Lippitt of the Universal Episcopal Church. Either way, welcome to another session and a very different pastor study. Samhain is upon us. Yes, I see on the calendar that Samhain is Thursday. Samhain, in some missals, it's called Eve of All Saints. Sometimes it's called All Souls Day. And of course, November 1st, the following day, is All Saints Day. And, well, you know what? It's a pretty exciting time. They call it All Saints Day among the Christians because they found that Samhain was a good time to acknowledge the saints that they don't know about. Now, I got a question for you. Let's say there's a saint that got canonized. Let's say also there's a saint who did not get canonized, but you know about. And for one reason or another, and I'll leave to you to figure out the list of reasons why, you happen to know this other person is a saint. Now, what's the difference? Well, this other one that got canonized, people in confirmation classes may wind up writing papers about them, and for that matter they might get studied in seminary. I have heard of Catholic seminaries where Lives of the Saints was what was read during meals in the refectory, which is the dining hall for them. How accurate that description is, I don't know. But what's the difference between one that got canonized and one that didn't? The amount of publicity and the fact that there might be a special mass said for, or a communion said for, somebody that did get canonized. Whoopie doodle. If you know somebody who's a saint, go for it. And of course, by a saint, we're talking about somebody who crossed the bridge and made it over there and got the appropriate accolades. How many, how few? I'm not going to say, other than I'm going to say that it's a lot more than a lot of Christian people claim. So, Samhain. Traditionally among the Celts and several others, that's the time of the year when the veil between the worlds is at its thinnest. Now, it's not very thick any other time. Take a look at what you can do at other Sabbaths. But it's at its absolute thinnest here. And that means at Samhain, you might be able to do some things a little bit more easily. You might be able to try some things, and you might be able to dare some things. No, not dare in the way of personal danger, but, gee, do you think it's going to work? Well, if it's going to work, it's going to work now. It might work any time during the rest of the year, but it's going to work now, if it's going to work at all. And of course, there's always the question, well, what do you want to do? calling and honoring those who have gone before is always a good thing. I'm sure that just like deities, they like being remembered. And what else? Well, I can think of one biggie that I sum up in 2 words. Unfinished business. How many cases can you think of? I'm not going to ask you. Your answer is your own to keep on in your heart, to know about for yourself. How many times has there been somebody that you wanted to say something to, you wanted to write a letter to, or you had an argument with that you wish you hadn't, or you said something to that person in anger and you didn't get another chance to say, gee, what I really meant was, or I'm sorry. A lot of us have that. And this is the time to take care of such unfinished business. I can think of a story of a young boy who didn't want to go to bed. And so he yelled all sorts of things at his mother when she demanded and let it be known in no uncertain terms that he was in fact going to bed, and the next day he was in fact going to school, and he was going to walk to school all by himself. Well, guess what? His mother passed during the night. I can think of my grandmother, my father's mother. I was going to make a base visit as a cadet. A bunch of us were going to get on an airplane and fly down to a base which happened to be close to where my grandmother lived. And I was going to give her a call. Well, the base visit got canceled. And a couple of nights later, my aunt called to let me know that my grandmother had died. So many of these things in our lives. And so, there's one big opportunity for us. And I mean us, because I can't think of any of us who hasn't had to deal with some unfinished business. Yeah, there's many other things, welcoming them, being glad to have their presence, appreciating them, telling them what great things that they've done, and how much wonderful in your life is there because of them. But I like putting unfinished business, any unfinished business that I have, at the top of the list. And usually every year I can think of something. Even if I remember everything that I ever took care of on any other year, I can usually think of some unfinished business. So there you go. Regardless, I'm not going to say depending on your path, regardless of your path, regardless of the name of the particular holiday or Sabbath, here's something very special. And perhaps one of the greatest opportunities of the year. I'm Aidan. Merry apart and merry meet again. Blessed be. I'll see you next week. This has been a presentation of the Wise Ones Net. Merry part and blessed be.